Hi everyone. There is so much going on right now with the energy, so much at the end of the year that is still ahead of us. It is chock full of exciting things, big changes, big waves of frequency. There is an extremely important message that I want to share with you about this potential bifurcation of our timeline and what you can do to have a positive effect on that. I'm going to talk to you about how you can become an entry point for cosmic frequency to help shift our human field, the field of humanity, and also to help shift the planetary field to a higher place. So this is something very concrete that you can do. This is related to the last Metatron channeling that I held at the end of September. I'm going to give you those frequencies and tell you more about it. I'm also going to talk about the evolution of the heart, which started back in September of 2023. Also began with some Metatron frequencies, so I'll tell you more about those, and we'll review what that process is, what it means, when it's predicted to complete, and how it's related to this predicted wave of love that's coming, or new way of being that's a more loving way of being. I also have a message that came in today from a galactic about new information that will be revealed potentially in April of 2026 that is going to help us to see our galactic neighbors in a new way. It's going to help open our eyes, as it were, and elevate them, and it's going to give us the opportunity to evaluate from a new perspective. So this is all very, very important for right now. So that's a big theme right now. If you've been looking at different videos online, there's a lot of talk about galactics and our galactic nature and understanding it better. And finally, I'm going to reiterate some of the things I said in my last video, my September update, where I talked about a wave of cosmic frequency coming our way that is predicted to hit the planet and envelop the planet beginning at the very end of October, which is right around the corner. And then in November, we have a ball of cosmic light that is coming from also very far away. That was sent intentionally. It has a lot of high vibration in it. It's going to help us to evolve, actually, and it's going to help the emergence of the higher dimensional self to take place, and that is also predicted to happen at the same time. So that's about the second week in November. Lots to say about all of these things. I'm Paige. I'm an energy healer and a channel. This is your October energy update. Please do take a moment to like and subscribe. It really helps me to get this information out there, which I think is really important information, and also to get the frequency out there, which is ultimately, to me, more important than the messages. The frequency is what creates shift. Okay, let's begin with the Metatron frequencies from September. This one is very specific, very concrete. I think it's an easy one to grasp. Sometimes they're a little bit out there. Not to say it's not out there, it definitely is out there. But the frequencies for this particular channeling are a combination of things that are intended to create a funnel of cosmic frequency that comes down to each individual who is receiving those frequencies, meaning each individual who listens to the meditation, and you'll find it right here on my YouTube channel. All you have to do is listen to it. I do recommend that you sit through the entire thing. That's an hour. There's the beginning part where I give you the message, and then there's about 45 minutes of silence. That is chock full of frequency. That is a very intensive period, so you don't want to turn it off right after the message. Sit for the whole thing, even if you are, it's silent, so you could be going to sleep even if you want. If you have ads, just turn the volume down, you'll still get the frequency. So here are the frequencies that came in. The first one was completely new. It's 8882. This one represents the opening of an access point for cosmic frequencies that attach to each individual who listens. This point will remain open while humanity is in its shift, closing when the planet completes its frequency shift, which is related to when Saturn leaves the 3rd degree of Aries. That's going to be in March of 2026. The second frequency is 2222. That's the joining of two separate forms into one. So that is where this funnel that's coming down actually connects with the individual. The third frequency is 5555. This creates a pathway that is free of obstruction, where the energy or the movement self-propels without resistance. So what that means is it creates a good flow, a good, solid, consistent, self-sustaining flow. So again, this is very simple, and it is a really easy way for you to have a big effect on the situation that we are in right now. If you want to push higher, not only for yourself, and this will push you higher as an individual, but you will also assist in anchoring these higher cosmic frequencies so that they are coming into the field of humanity and onto the planet, which pushes everything higher. So I hope that you will consider doing that. Again, the meditation is here on my channel. All you have to do is listen. Now I'm going to go back to the Metatron channeling of September 2023, where we talked about the evolution of the heart. And this is where this concept was introduced for me. At the time, I remember thinking, oh, I'm going to be talking about this a lot over the next year or so as you know, as this process is ongoing. And really, it has only come up a few times. It's kind of like it was initiated and it's been going on in the background. And now, you know, looking back, it makes a lot of sense to me that this is happening. So when we're talking about the heart, we're talking about the heart center. That's the heart chakra. This is a highly intelligent center. The heart is where your soul finds its expression. It's where you hold your truth, where you know your truth. It's where you find your highest expression. So all of this talk about following your heart is about aligning to your truth, aligning to your highest expression, and it also happens to be where we align to our passions. Metatron has said over and over in all of the channelings I've done since April of 2021 that it is so important to tune into the heart, open the heart, express from the heart, which is all about finding your unique expression. It's also about creating from the heart. That means that we're creating from a higher place, from a higher truth, from a higher knowing. It's also where we experience compassion. It's where we extend kindness. So there is so much, and of course, love and unconditional love. There is so much importance to the heart as a center. Now, keep in mind, the heart is also the strongest electromagnetic field in the body. That means that it sets the tone for the entire energy system. It is creating stability within the system based on what it carries. So this period that we have been in of the evolution of the heart has been a period of a lot of shift and change for the heart, meaning in terms of the heart chakra, it's a lot of unpacking of what's been in there. So you may have been feeling this. I have found this in my sessions that people's hearts are opening on a deeper and deeper level as we've gone through these changes. And a lot of the old stuff has been coming to the surface. It's got to come to the surface in order for the heart to evolve. Your heart can't evolve if it's blocking, if it's protecting itself, if it's got walls up, which a lot of people have had. If you're carrying a lot of old emotion, that's heavy emotion, a lot of sadness, a lot of heartache and heartbreak, those kinds of things become blocks in the heart and they get triggered over and over, and the heart becomes very sensitive and it tries to protect itself. Unfortunately, it can't evolve fully if it's still holding that kind of patterning. So releasing that has been a big part of this process of evolution, which is still ongoing. So it's not done yet. So let me first tell you what the frequencies were. I'm just going to review those because I think it's fascinating to look at them now. So this is going back to September of 2023. We had the first frequency was 5435, and that represented internal transmutation. The second one was 6665, and that's the beginning of transmutation of the heart's energy specifically. Then we had 4322, which is anchoring within a process. That means that the process has begun and is anchored. It's going to continue. The overall theme was you begin the internal process of the heart's evolution. Now, I don't remember exactly what the message was, the spoken message in that meditation, but if you'd like to see it, if you'd like to receive these frequencies, you can just listen to it. It's here on my YouTube channel. So the reason that I bring this up right now is that there's a lot of talk right now and in this space on YouTube about a new wave of heart energy coming, a new way of being that expresses more from the heart or expresses more unconditional love. And I do believe that this is directly related to this evolution of the heart. Back in December of 2024, when I began the human reformulation work, that's with the galactic center beings, they said that one reason they wanted to start in December was because that was when the process of the evolution of the heart was peaking for most people. Now, what's interesting about this is I was asking, when this would complete, and they are predicting it would be the end, December of 2026 for this process to complete. So that means it's actually a process it's quite extensive. It's 39 months, which is interesting in terms of numerology. If you add those together, you get 12. 12 is a really important number. It's the highest dimensional state that we can achieve here in our human form. So there's a lot of importance to that number. One other thing that I think is really interesting about this is when I do a frequency channeling, they usually it's about an hour long, and the guides have said that the frequency peaks at about 20 minutes in, and then it stays there for the duration of the channeling until the very end, where it just drops off. This process of the heart seems very similar. We were peaking in December of 2024, which was exactly, 1 year and 3 months into the process, so 15 months into the process, and it's a 39-month process. So it's kind of hitting that peak at around the same time that the frequency would hit a peak in a channeling. While I'm on the topic of Metatron, I'm going to go back over some of the messages that have come through as we move into talking about this upcoming predicted timeline split. So just for context, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, there's a lot of talk right now about this bifurcation of the timeline of humanity. And I mentioned in my last energy update that the galactics that have been advising me, these are generally the galactic center beings and the high council that they sit on, are saying that we don't need to split. And in fact, it's better if we don't split. They're saying that if we divide in this way, this is going to pull us farther apart. I think that's a logical conclusion that we could all come to on our own as well. What they're showing is, we already have a lot of conflict. We have a lot of discord and dissonance. If you want to think just in terms of frequency, harmony is when things are syncing. They're sympathetic to one another. They understand each other. Dissonance and discord is when there's tension. They are not able to find commonality. They're not able to move together in a smooth rhythm. So we happen to have a lot of discord in our society globally right now. And it's because of this discord and our inability to release our histories and our past and all of our attachments to those histories that we are separating out. It's also because we have a lot of people who are still carrying a lot of heavy emotion, carrying a lot of old patterns. So that could be rage, anger in general, grief. Desire for power and control is a big one. Wanting to control others, desire to harm others, acting in violent ways, expressing in violent ways. All of that is obviously very low frequency. I think everybody knows that now, sort of a very low vibe way of being, right? And then we have a lot of people who have been pushing higher, 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 and have achieved much higher states. And so what's happening is as our planet is shifting and humanity's field is shifting as well, and I just want to say quickly about that our two fields are separate but nested, so they are inextricably linked. As humanity is separating out, we're becoming more distanced from one another, more and more distanced from one another. When we hit that end of the Earth's shift in March of 2026, that's going to be kind of like a final completion point. And there is a prediction that at that point, we would actually separate out into two separate fields of humanity, meaning two mirrors, actually, of humanity and the planet together, mirroring each other. My galactic advisors have said that this would be actually a fourth dimensional timeline and a fifth dimensional timeline. The fourth dimensional timeline appears to be fairly set, and the fifth dimensional timeline still has quite a bit of room for top levels to go higher and higher. However, they still have said that it's better for us not to do this because the strength of the species depends on remaining together. If we separate out, just think about this, the discord, the dissonance, the difficulty in finding common ground increases. The differences between us increase because the one group will continue to go higher, 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 whereas the other group will remain rather fixed in the path that it's on. So this doesn't bode well for us as a species. In fact, my guides have said that it is more likely that we would have conflict, war, destruction, etc., if we are to separate. Even though it sounds wonderful that there could be just this higher states and higher states and higher states and higher development for one group, the consequence may not be so wonderful. One thing that they have said also is that this higher group, which is going to be the larger group, 30% of the population are on that lower timeline or would remain on that lower timeline, and 70% would be on the higher timeline. This is the global population. That higher group would then dominate intellectually the lower group. However, the lower group is where you're going to find a lot more violence and reactivity. So that's not a good blend. If we just think about that, it doesn't mix well, right? And so what I wanted to do actually was take a minute to review some of the Metatron messages over the last 4 years, since April of 2021, when I began holding those meditations on the Insight Timer. The trend in the topic has really been, first, we had to create our vision for this new world that we were stepping into. And we wanted to emphasize the heart, express from the heart, create from the heart, find your true expression. Then it moved into higher states of being and cosmic frequencies coming in and knowing yourself as a galactic being as well, merging with higher states, finding these interdimensional pathways, becoming an interdimensional being, the light body changing. All of this has come up in the Metatron channelings. Even though the trend has been this change in content, there have always been consistent messages about moving together. Metatron has said over and over since 2021 that as we go through these changes, we have to move together. We are one humanity. We are one field. We have to move together in order to stay together. We're stronger when we're connected. Metatron has depicted a network of light, lots of points of light, and emphasized the strength of the network, of that kind of framework. And that we elevate one another, that we need to see ourselves in the other, that we need to take the hand of the other and bring them with us, that we need to lead and show the way for the other. But there's always, always, always been a reminder of the other. It's not about just each individual going higher, higher, higher and leave the rest behind. We have got to stay together in this process. That's been emphasized over and over. So it makes a lot of sense to me that all along Metatron was giving these messages, and I was thinking, wow, it's, I feel like sometimes it's just really repetitive, but that's what it needed to be. And of course, I didn't know back then that this potential timeline split was coming. And now it makes so much more sense given the situation that we're in. So I'd like to give you just a little bit more information about this timeline split and what would actually be happening. I've said we would split into 2 fields. The way it would divide is the 3 lower timelines within humanity would be on that lower track, and the 3 higher timelines would be on the higher track. Now, when I talk about these timelines, I'm referring to the individual timelines. I know it's a lot of talk of timelines. It gets very confusing. We actually have individual timelines. We have a planetary timeline, and then we have the timeline for the field of humanity as a whole. Back in March of 2025, we completed the timeline shifts for the individual changes. And that's when we had actually a convergence of timelines. We went into that shift with 4. We came out of it with 6. It was a rearranging of timelines and a splitting of one of the timelines because of dissonance within the timeline itself. So now we have 6 timelines. The 2 lowest do not represent the potential for awakening. Timelines represent potential. They are frequency pathways. You're pulled onto a timeline through resonance based on where you have put yourself, based on what you have done, what kind of spiritual work you have done. If you've been listening to things like channeled frequency, you'll be at a higher timeline. Back in September of 2024, I had a message from a galactic that was foreshadowing the window closing for those timeline shifts and really urging us to consider our actions and take advantage of that time. I'm just going to reread that for you right now. So this is a higher level galactic being who came in. I don't have a name for it. I have a lot of galactic beings who come in who I don't have names for, but they have wonderful information and they are such incredibly beautiful beings. And the way that they show up and how helpful they are and how supportive they are is really just truly amazing. So this one was, the time has come to raise yourselves up from your prior states of low frequency alignment. Now is the time. You must choose to see yourselves as more, to see each other and all of humanity as more than you have been. This is putting it on us, right? We are creating this. We are the ones who are in control here. This applies to right now as well. To see the potential that exists in all of you and to reach for something higher. But remember, it's the potential that exists in all of you. It is now. Take the other with you. Pull them along. Lift them by lifting yourselves and how you see them. When you lift yourself to a higher place, you see from a higher place. It shifts your perspective. You tend to not carry as many of those heavier emotions. You release those emotions along the way because they have to go when you're shifting to a higher place. Therefore, the way you reflect on others and reflect on life shifts. The way you see others, literally, how you see them can change dramatically. And the final phrase was, you may reach now. Now is the time. And this is when they were saying you have a window of time that's going to close. We're getting the same message now. We have a window of time that is going to close in March of 2026. And if we do nothing, the likelihood is that we will split. Now, what's really interesting is when I made my last energy update, that was not the case. They said that there was no likelihood one direction or the other. Now, the likelihood is that we will split. So we've had a big change. I was asking why that is. They said that the magnetic field around the planet has shifted. This shift is the result of human activity, and it has somewhat destabilized the magnetic field, making it more vulnerable to a split. I'm going to jump back to March. When the timelines, the individual timelines had solidified, the High Council of Multiverses shared that all the timelines had formed. They shared a lot more, but one thing that stood out to me as I was looking back was they said it is advised to remain in your state of awareness of the whole of humanity so as not to be fully engrossed in only your own experience. Timelines, our individual timelines, become like groupings, because we are grouped with others who resonate with us. That means that we can actually feel more separate from those who don't resonate with us. So why do we have timelines at all? Individual timelines, planetary timelines, and timelines for the whole of humanity. Here is what the same High Council had to say about timelines in general. I think this is really helpful information. Timelines serve to advance the evolution of your species. This is a time when some among you could achieve much higher expressions through carrying and modifying your light systems to higher frequencies. But the greater whole is not prepared to entrain to these higher frequencies. So some of us are ready to go higher, but the collective as a whole is not, which means that if we had the option to separate out into a higher track, it would be helpful. That would push us along rather than keeping us kind of stuck, following what the low end is able to do. Therefore, the timeline gives you a separation and foundation of frequency upon which to stabilize this higher expression and continue to evolve at a faster pace to even higher frequencies. You see, the smaller group that is already vibrating together at these higher frequencies will quickly evolve because there is harmony and attunement within the group. There's no dissonance, there's no discord, there's no drag at the other end, which means that those groups along these timelines, that these higher timelines are going to move very quickly to higher states. They're going to continue to grow. And the timeline represents potential. It represents what's possible from where you are. It's not a final, this is where you are and this is where you'll stay. It's your new beginning point, right? That's what a timeline is. And that's what these timelines for humanity will be, a new beginning point. So if we are to split into two, they have said that we will essentially become two different species, which again is not what we were intended to do. In May, the same High Council came in with this message. Your changes are happening at a pace beyond what was anticipated for you at this time. It's clear that your species will develop rapidly over the next few years. This rapid development will require that those among you who are leading the change be fully in alignment with the highest potential activations for your species, and that creates the template for the rest to follow. You must open to your instinctual awareness. This is being activated in your rapid changes. This is the humanness within you that seeks expression. It is what connects all within the field of humanity. The stronger these connections, the greater the pull from those leading in the front. And that means the greater the pull on the rest of humanity, the stronger those connections. So again, this was in May, we had the emphasis on creating strong connections within the field of humanity. Metatron at the same time was talking about remembering what connects us, finding our commonality, finding common ground, not focusing on what separates us, not focusing on our differences, but focusing on what we have in common. And so that leads me to my final wrap up of this topic, which is what you can do right now if you're trying to avoid this bifurcation and keep our species together as one, ultimately strengthening us in the long run. It may be a little less exciting if we don't go as high as we might have gone if we were to separate out, but it could be a lot more comfortable if we don't have so much conflict. And, obviously, if we're less likely to self-destruct, that's a good thing. What we all need to be doing right now, according to the guides, is not forgetting about the others, and particularly not forgetting about those that we really feel we have nothing in common with, that we have no resonance with. People who feel like, they may be in some sort of like alternate reality to yours or parallel universe to yours, because you just can't understand how they think the way they think or how they act the way they act. And remember, they see you in the same way. So what we need to do is extend kindness, extend compassion, see ourselves in them. We need to remember that we're one. We need to find common ground. Think about our common humanity. What binds us? What connects us? We are one. We are all part of one humanity. So if you can, when you're out in public, if you see people who you and notice, this is where we bring in a lot of self-awareness, noticing our reactions. Do we turn away from people who we automatically judge as different from us, not resonant with us, crazy, wrong, etc.? And if so, you want to find, if you're turning away, you want to turn towards those people. You want to turn towards them and you want to extend some sort of energetic communication. It can be from your heart. Communication to their heart. You want to extend some sort of energetic communication. This can be from your heart to their heart. Think about extending kindness. Even if you feel like this is someone that just rubs you the wrong way. I know that this is really challenging, but that's what this is all about. This is a difficult phase we are in. We can do this. We can overcome it. It is not that distant an objective. If you were to, you don't even have to talk to them. You don't have to look them in the eye. You don't have to interact with them. You can just send good energy their way. What the guides have said, these are the galactics, what they've said is right now, where we are, where we stand currently, we are 80% likely to separate. We need 80% of the population to be on board with not separating in terms of thinking of the other, extending that energy towards the other in order for us to remain together. Currently, we have about 50% of the population on board with that, according to them. So we only have 30% more to pull on. And right now, that is not a huge number in terms of how easy it is to make a quantum change right now. So this is actually very doable in our window of time by the end of March. So let's all try this. I've asked everybody in the Metatron, the last Metatron channeling, to commit. Anyone who is willing, I've asked all the people in my community to commit. And we just have to remind ourselves to do it. It's easy to make a commitment and do it for a few days and then forget about it. Remember, we've got through the end of March to keep practicing this. You also want to keep practicing your vision of this beautiful planet where everything is very vibrant and alive, the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. When you're walking in nature, when you're just looking out the window, when you're driving, whatever it may be, you want to project that image onto nature, onto the natural world around you. That's going to help move us to a higher place. Okay, so here is the message for this month. This is coming from a being from Lyra, and this is about our awareness of galactics and the way that we see extraterrestrials, the way they're perceived by our society. A lot of information will be coming forward soon, things that were intentionally hidden from view in order to manipulate the population into only seeing one side of the story or one side of the picture of alien contact. It's time for us to understand with more depth, unlike the shallow Hollywood type understanding that we have. We'll be given the opportunity to make up our own minds by being presented with information that could change entirely how we see these beings. This could be revealed in April of 2027. So they're not saying what the information is, they're just saying that it's coming and that this is something that has the potential to radically shift how the population views extraterrestrials, which would be a wonderful thing because extraterrestrials are incredible beings. They have been incredibly supportive of us in our evolutionary process. They continue to be. They've been with us for millennia, helping us for millennia, and there's really absolutely no reason for us to fear them in any way. There are many humans on the planet who are working towards this goal, a concerted combined effort to elevate the status of the alien to a higher level of understanding and respect. And remember, we think of alien as foreign, as different than. Really, we are galactic beings as well. The guides have been saying, particularly the galactic advisors that work with me have been saying, it's time for us to remember our galactic nature. We've had a couple of messages like that this year. This is, I think it was January of this year, that they said it's time for us to see ourselves as part of a galactic neighborhood, that it's important for the survival of our species. And that's a really important line. I've learned to take these things very seriously. As I look back at all of these messages that have come in, I'm blown away at how precise they are, how direct and to the point, and very, very accurate they have been according to what's been going on around us. And unfortunately, we don't really see it when the message comes in because we don't know what's coming. When we look back with hindsight, we can say, oh wow, that was right on point. So again, they've said that it's time for us to open up to that. I think they're working on our understanding. They're trying to help us open up to new ways of thinking about this so that we'll be ready to make contact when that time comes. Okay, so I know I have given you a lot of information. If you're still with me, thank you for sticking around. I do want to touch on those last few things I talked about. First, we have this wave of cosmic frequency coming from another multiverse. It's not known exactly how this will affect us. It may have an effect on weather patterns. That's one thing in particular that they said. Even ocean temperatures they brought up. So there's really no telling actually how this is going to affect us, but apparently we're going to be in this energy for about 4 months. What they have said is that it could really cancel out. These are strong frequencies, cosmic frequencies that could cancel out some of the frequencies that are around us all the time that we're used to in our environment, that make us feel comfortable, that make us feel normal. So you may find that you have some difficulty feeling like yourself. If you suddenly, some of these frequencies that you're used to sort of anchoring into that are around you are gone, replaced by something totally foreign, you might feel a little out of sorts. So that's something that just be aware of. That could happen. The flip side of that, the benefit, is that it creates opportunity for us to move very quickly. So if you are doing things like listening to channel frequency, which I have a lot of here on my channel, and trying to move higher, you could take a quantum leap right now, because for the same reason, the energies that you're anchored into, the frequencies around us, aren't going to be there, some of them. So that could free you up to move very quickly. The other things are the emergence of the higher dimensional self predicted for the second week of October, and a ball of interdimensional light that is coming from within our universe, also predicted to be passing by our planet following the growth patterns of our universe in early November, same time as the higher dimensional self emerging. And this actually is going to have an effect on the emergence of the higher dimensional self. This is what they've said was created by a group of galactics. It's got very positive energy, potential to really boost our evolutionary process. This was created and launched along growth patterns, which I think is absolutely fascinating. Apparently, this particular galactic group specializes in this kind of thing. So this is a real benefit for us. What they did say is that 80% of the population will feel this in some way. But again, and that's a frequency thing. So you have to be able to attain a certain level of frequency to even be able to interact with those frequencies that are coming in. And that same thing, that the emergence of the higher dimensional self will also be taking place for about 80% of the population. That should continue through February. So they did say that that process could be a little unsettling. You may feel as if you're in the center of a whirlwind and things around you are changing, or that you're just feeling like a little turned around. Sometimes it can feel like you're turned around and upside down and you can't really orient yourself. That might be the case. And they did say to focus on going up, focus on this emergence rather than trying to kind of grab onto old things, things that would have made you feel comfortable, or your old patterns, to allow this process and to focus on that higher emergence. And that is it for this month. Thank you for sticking with me. I did talk in more depth about those last things in my September update. So if you'd like more information, you can go back and take a look at that one. Have a wonderful rest of your month, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.